Hello, everybody. Welcome to Talk About Houses. I'm Todd.
I'm Juana.
So we are going to talk about the evil baby boomers and the Gen Xers. We're Gen Xers. About how they are probably messing up the housing market and creating a shortage. We believe they could be colluding to do this potentially, maybe not intentionally. Okay, so bottom line is everyone born kind of before August of 1964 to the end of World War II is considered a baby boomer. Mm-hmm. And then everybody after that, all the way to 1979 or so, were Gen X.
Like that, yeah.
Okay, Gen X, maybe early 80s. Actually, some guy did a statistical study one time to find the inflection point when that changed. And the date he came up with was like July 23rd of 1964. But you know what people did? People got lazy and didn't want to remember a specific date in the middle of the year. So if you Google it, when did the baby boom end or when did Gen X start? It'll just say January 1st, 1965. But that's not true. Actually, the inflection point is because at that point they were the World War II generation were too old. They weren't having kids anymore, right? Okay, so that's a little history lesson on Gen X and baby boomer. I'm actually Gen X. Okay, so is Juana. Now, so what are they doing? Well, think about this. You have a generation of people who are probably at this point in time in their 50s and 60s, the Gen X and baby boomers and older. A lot of them do have children that are maybe in their 20s, and they're either going to college or they're moving to another city for work. So what are their parents doing for them while they're moving to another city?
So their parents are purchasing homes for them, which sounds very generous and it sounds wonderful, and it is for those particular children. So these children that are now young adults are living in these homes that their parents have purchased for them. But guess what? That means that they are still not homeowners. They are living in someone else's home. And these are homes that are not available for these young people to purchase. So this is further exacerbating this whole home shortage for these young adults who are trying to purchase homes.
Yeah. So a lot of this comes from anecdotal information, but we are in real estate. We do talk to a lot of other agents, and we have noticed this trend. People that we know personally and other agents, that their client needs a referral for an agent in another market because they're buying a house and they're specifically buying it for their child. Child just got married. They want to give them a place to live. The way the deal works is they buy the house, it's in their name. Their child pays them some rent, but it's like less than market rent. They said, when I die, I'll just leave them the house, but they're, 55 or 60. And they're probably not going to die anytime soon. Yeah. And so even when they do, maybe they'll sell the house at that point. But the trend I've noticed is, because I have friends who have done this, a number of friends who have done this. They're buying a house in another market they know nothing about. Their child has moved there because they got married, they got a job there, whatever. And then what happens is, I say, well, what are you going to do when they move? They get a job somewhere else, and they're not in Nashville. They move to Atlanta. And the answer was, oh, I'll just rent it out, or I'll just turn it into an Airbnb and have someone else manage it. So
what's interesting about it is that traditionally these homes, this sort of thing happened at a higher income level. So the much more affluent people were doing this sort of thing, but this is going to move down the ladder to more middle class people doing this sort of thing, which is very different. The other thing that's different is these people used to maybe give their children money for down payment on a house for them to purchase themselves, but they're not doing that.
Yep.
They're buying the home for their children. They're not helping their children buy a house. They're buying the home outright. So this is a very interesting change in the dynamic. So kind of keep that in mind. We've talked on a previous video about how long people are staying in homes. Because the length of time that people are staying in homes is getting longer and longer, these homes will not come on the market for a much, much longer time. So because there will be less churn, this whole inventory situation will be perpetuated.
Yeah, baby boomers and Gen Xers, there's two different levels of socioeconomic wealth that we call the middle class or whatever, right, upper class. And one is income based. If you have a high income, you tend to have living and spending a certain way. And then you have another one that's accumulated wealth. It's different than income, because you could have a lot of people that are high net worth don't have any income because they don't work, right? But then you have people who are still working, but they've been saving too, so they have high net worth, they have reasonable net worths now. And it's two groups of people. It's the high income people that are buying, they're paying for their kids to go to college. They're paying for that. They said, hey, I'll just pay for your college. I'll buy you a house. You can live in the house. Then you also have the people who have wealth and they're trying to place their wealth somewhere. What better place than to have a rental that their child is going to live in? And if they have more than one child and and they're going to buy a house and maybe it'll be, the first child will move in, and then later on the second child will move in 3 years later. So they'll have the house for 7 years and they'll have two children living in it. So this is a thing. This is a thing that I will tell you this. In the 1980s, which is when I went to college, this didn't exist. Like, I know nobody whose parents bought them a house. Like, parents didn't do anything. Most parents back then said, good luck. Okay, it's a generational thing. The parents today are not doing that. They are buying houses for their children. They're buying houses for their children because they got married. They're buying houses and they want to protect them. They're buying houses for their children because they're going to college and they want them to not have to spend money on dorms or whatever. They're buying houses for their children just to buy houses for their children.
But remember, these houses are not being bought for their children in their children's names. These houses are staying with their estate, with their assets. So it is a different situation. Yeah,
true life story. I asked a person, said, hey, I'm buying a house for my daughter. I said, that's great. What's going on? He said, oh, she's got a boyfriend. It's really serious. They're engaged. They're going to get married. I go, hey, so is she going to be on the deed? I mean, are you going to give her the house? Because you're buying a house for him. Like, what if they get divorced? He's going to own half the house, right? And he goes, no. The house is in my name. I'm buying the house. It's my house. They'll live in it. Maybe at some point in the future, I'll give it to them, or we'll put them on the deed or put her on the deed or whatever. But no, he's never going to own the house. It's her house. I'm buying it, right? And that's an interesting, because here's the thing. Your dad, your mom, whoever buys you a house, your parents buy you a house, and you're living in the house. And you've got a place to live, which is fine. But now you want to own a home, that you want to build that equity yourself, and you want to own a home. So now you have to either convince your parent to sell you the house, or you have to go out in the market and buy a house. And that, you can see where this is going, right? Because the parent says, I'll keep the house. I don't want to sell it to you. Now or you just say, hey, we're moving. We're going to somewhere else. We're going to buy a house when we get there. The parent says, well, I'll just turn this one into a rental.
Right. So it's a good way for the parents to park some money, a hedge against inflation. We can discuss that the stock market is an all-time high, that sort of thing. So this is really taking care of a lot of different things for these parents that are baby boomers and Gen X. They've got a safe place to put their asset. They're taking care of their kids. This is all good. But at the end of the day, this is still contributing to the thing that we're seeing, which is low inventory levels for these millennials to be able to purchase homes when they're good and ready. And a lot of them are good and ready now. They're making good money. The economy is good. Interest rates are low. There just isn't the inventory, because a lot of it is also because the Gen X and the baby boomers are not bringing these homes to market, or they're outbidding them for these homes.
Yeah, if you're waiting for this event to change, you have to wait for all the boomers and all of the Gen Xers to die, and then hope that when they leave these homes to their heirs, the heirs don't just keep them as rentals, and they actually do put them on the market. And then just keep this in mind, that the youngest Gen Xers are in their early 40s, probably. And they probably have 40 or 50 more years of life left in them.
Yep.
And even the boomers, remember, the boomers were born in 45 or 6. So they're not, I mean, they're still around. And they're probably, you know, with medicine getting better and care getting better and everything, they're probably going to be around.
Yeah, I mean, look, my dad's a baby boomer and my dad's still working. So.
Yeah. My mother is still alive and she was born 16 years before the oldest baby boomer. So
Right.
she is 16 years earlier than the baby boomer. She's still around.
Yes.
Okay. So we found, you know, we've been talking about this for a long time, this phenomena of this one demographic. Ultimately, part of the problem, we talked about this on the last video, was the demographic, the problem with the demographics. You've got this massive group of people who have all this wealth. They're using it to buy homes for their children. And then, of course, we talked about in the other video, they're not moving. They're staying in the same house longer, and that's
Right.
causing a problem.
Absolutely. So if you made it to the video, please like the video, subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave us comments, tell us what you think. You're living in this world too, and you're seeing a lot of what's going on, so we want to know what your observations are. We look forward to your notes, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye.
Bye.